"41 years ago, I went to a recording studio. I have a phone call from a kid who says," he's 19, he says, "Hey, I'm auditioning for a movie role. It's a singing part, and I need a demo tape of me singing." And I won't give you the rest of the story because he may talk a bit about that, but ultimately he comes in and we record some songs, and he never made the role, but that interaction really launched him into a couple of different things that were very successful. One thing he told me in that initial interaction was that he was going to go to the Air Force. And after he got out of the Air Force, he got a job at CNN. And he was the guy who stood in the back room talking into a microphone into Lou Waters' earpiece as Lou is on the air telling us all about the Kuwait War. And Lou is identifying the aircraft and the gun and the bombs. And Lou doesn't know anything at all because Sean is the guy whispering in his ear, telling him all those things while he's on the air telling us. Interesting story. Sean and I have known each other 41 years. He's a great guy, lots of success. He's going to share with us. Give it up for Sean McMann. Aaron Bean's in the house.
So if you see me hobbling, gentlemen, it's because I just finished knee replacement surgery. I did get 15 of those push-ups out of the way, but I got a messed up rotator cuff. So I tried. Just started going back to the gym on Monday. And I see this guy back here, and he makes me feel like I need to start all over again. Dennis, too. It's great to see older dudes in shape, and I've kind of had to let myself go for a few months. And it's terrible recovering from surgery when you're a person who wants to be on the move. And I appreciate Mark opening up with a little history about our relationship. I've been very blessed by the Lord to, for whatever reason, bump into multiple men throughout my life who have taken the time to invest in me. They've seen me in trouble. They've seen me struggling with things. They've seen me in need of advice or even physical help. And so I've collected this blessing over my lifetime, and I am absolutely overwhelmed with gratitude that my friend Mark gave me a call one day after we were talking about a book that I'm working on and asked me to participate here to tell you a little bit about why I'm writing a book, why I've been writing a book for a few years now. It's because I tried to take all of those things that were given to me growing up by all of these different men, and I wanted to craft that into like a consolidated approach for my own son, Connor. And I was really an involved father, didn't buy him a new car, didn't do a lot of things that would make his life easier, and to be honest, he didn't really like me too much growing up. But it wasn't my job to be his buddy, it was my job to raise him up in the way that he should go, and I took that advice very seriously. But it's funny, I was just telling Dennis in the back there a minute ago, the genesis of me writing a book was born on the drive back from dropping him off at college up in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I had tears in my eyes, and my wife said, "It'll be okay, it'll wear off. You won't miss him so much as time goes by." I said, "It's not because I miss him, it's because I'm not finished. I have so much more that I haven't shared with that guy. I had 18 years to do it, and I didn't get it out of my system." And she said, "Well, you should write a book. You're a writer." And so I started a book. And that's what sort of got my brain focused on the question of how can I help? Like, how can I pay it forward? And I'm blessed that my friend Mark asked me to come here because I'm absolutely elated to try and do my very best, and I will do my very best to leave you better than you were when you showed up this morning. And Mark said, well, you have to say a closing prayer. And I was telling him the things that I pray about every day. And I said, I think, Mark, this occasion calls for an opening prayer. And would you gentlemen be all right with that? Yes. So if you would bow your heads and actually grab the hand of the man next to you, because this is a brotherhood, I can tell already, and you do sharpen each other's steel. Just bow your heads and pray with me, please. Dear Lord, we thank you so much for the opportunity to be here together to congregate in your name. We thank you for the opportunity to share wisdom and ideas. I pray, Lord, that you fill me with absolute confidence, clarity of thought, influence, wisdom, and that you relieve from us, Lord, any burden of worry, anxiety, doubt, or fear. Replace it, Lord, with infinite faith especially in your Son, Jesus Christ, in whose name we pray. Amen. So what is a man? By the way, I worked at CNN way back when CNN was an actual fair news organization. I left, just for the record, Mark, you're looking at a guy who literally stood up and took his headphones off, threw his pager on the table, and walked out of the building on Techwood Avenue in 1997 because that's when the woke showed up. They wanted me to create the news instead of report the news, and I said, I will not do that. That's not my job. I'm out of here. So I left, just for the record. So what is a man? I like the last line here. Men are made to take risks and live passionately on behalf of others. That pretty much sums up, and I think every man has this burning inside of him, but he just can't articulate it. He's got a scratch that needs itching, and he can't reach it. And I think that last sentence there pretty much sums up what's going on in there. So I gave a lot of thought to this. As I told you, that's my boy Connor. He's the inspiration for the book. The book is called This is Manhood, Common Advice that will help you become an uncommon man. And it's that common advice that has to be a collective. And I saw all of the conversations going on in the back as people were showing up and getting coffee, and I heard little tidbits being dropped from one man to another. Because we need that, because we are just pieces that are weak alone, but if we laminate each other with that wisdom, we become as strong as Formica, and it's incredible what can happen. So most of what I'm about to share here is sort of an excerpt from the book, and some of those chapters are finished, like the reading list, which I will get to Mark if you all want it. I have a definitive reading list of books that if I were asked, what should a young man read? What should any man read? I have come up with a list, and Mark and I were laughing about it yesterday, and I'll make sure he can get it available to you. But I think I have to be within a certain amount of, there we go. I have a question for you, and by show of hands, the first thing that comes into your mind, including the young man over here, what's the most inspiring thing someone can say to you?
I trust you. I trust you.
I trust you. Give me another one.
You were made for greatness.
You were made for greatness.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good one.
I respect you.
I respect you. You got one? Anybody else?
I see you.
I see you.
I will follow you.
I will follow you. I've actually had a friend tell me that. A very dear friend. That's a great one. I'm proud of you. These are wonderfully inspiring things. They're not what I needed to hear as a young man. The most inspiring thing that anybody ever told me is that. This lit a fire in me like no other praise could. There was a battle going on in my brain and my heart. There was, I guess it was a rebellious nature. Maybe it was a problem with authority telling me what I could and couldn't do. But as soon as someone told me, you can't, my brain went into overdrive, and I would pace by myself, and I would write things down, and I would scheme, and I would try to figure out how to get around that. Someone telling me I can't. And it's been the most important thing anybody ever said to me. Oops. I think I just... Oh, okay. Here's a few. They've told me a lot. You can't defend yourself. When I was a kid, I lived in Lansing, Michigan, rather. I'm going to show you a picture of the house I grew up in, and you're going to be mind blown. But it was a rough neighborhood in a car town back in the 70s. I would walk to school every day to Foster Elementary, and almost every day on the way to Foster Elementary, I would get my face smashed in. I would get beat up. I would get ganged upon. To and from school. When I was 8 years old, I said, Dad, I need to learn how to fight. Will you put me in karate lessons? He said, no, I don't need you running down the hall beating people up. I said, Dad, I can't defend myself. I don't know how to fight. So he said, I talked to some boys at work. We're going to put you in judo lessons instead. Because you can only defend yourself with judo. You can't go beat someone up with judo. I said, whatever. I just need to know how to defend myself. I learned judo. I became a black belt in judo and a state champion in judo. And guess who never messed with me about 2 years later and on? I learned how to defend myself. Yes, I can. I don't know if I'm doing that. You can't start a business. Okay. I downloaded a template, a Word document template in 1997 called Business Plan. I had no business school background. I had no business background. I wrote a business plan, and I pitched it to dozens of venture capitalists. Took me about a year, but I ended up getting a check for $10 million, and I started my own company, and I hired 72 people, and I managed it to success, and they said I couldn't do it because I didn't know anything about business. You can't be a writer. I've won 14 Emmy Awards, many of them for writing. I've written some of the top documentary hours on a major television network, and they told me, you can't do this because you don't have a journalism degree. You can't be a student leader. This is one of my favorites. This is kind of an early one. With the United States Air Force, I showed up at the fort, and our Air Force squadron was on an Army fort, which is weird. And we were surrounded by Army people. And in the morning, they would do push-ups and sit-ups, and they would make all these noises in formation, and they would snap to, and they were sharp. And I showed up at this Air Force squadron, and it was like Animal House. It was a mess. And I was embarrassed. Because I had what they called military bearing. Anybody who's a veteran here will know what I'm talking about. And it hurt me to see the Air Force ridiculed. So I went to the squadron commander and I said, I want to take over here when you're not around. I want to be the student leader because whoever's doing it now is not doing a very good job. Get out of my office. You can't be a student leader. You're a slick sleeve. A slick sleeve means I hadn't even achieved a rank yet. I was so new in the Air Force. I knocked on her door every day for weeks. She finally yielded. And she made me what's called a yellow rope. All I heard out of those mouths that whole time was blah, blah, blah. Okay? Guess who's a student leader? That's me in front of the squadron. We actually had a field day, I was telling Mark about this, with the Marines, with the Army, and with the Air Force. The Air Force actually won. That was because I changed their after-school volleyball games to a daily march to the gym to push iron for 2 hours. They hated me, but they sure loved that trophy. I took my military service very seriously, and while I was in the military, I was always promoted ahead of my peers, always. I was actually promoted to sergeant. I was not an officer. I was promoted to sergeant when I was in the States getting married to my wife. I couldn't attend my own review, so a Marine Master Sergeant and a Navy Senior Chief and an Air Force Master Sergeant went to my review in my stead, and they got me a promotion while I was in the States. And that reminds me of something that I may have left out of the deck. Your reputation is the only thing you truly own. Make sure people are speaking well of you when you're not in the room, and thinking well of you, and in this case, even willing to get up and go fight for you in your absence. Just remember, when someone says you can't, it's your choice as to whether you believe that or not. When they say you can't, just don't believe them. Make the voice in your head the predominant voice guiding your way. Make the voices of good men who are helping you be the voice, bolster that voice, amplify that voice. You don't have to believe them. Because here's the truth. No one can make you feel anything without your permission. If I slap you in the face, it's your choice as to whether you let that affect you negatively or not. Jesus said, turn the other cheek. I think this is kind of what he was talking about. If I yell at you in front of your peers and try to embarrass you, it's your choice as to whether you let that affect you or not. You can laugh at an insult. It's your choice. You don't have to get swelled up with red face, ready to duke it out with somebody. You don't have to respond that way. Everything is a choice, including how you respond to people being negative against you. Protect yourself. Respond the other way. It doesn't matter. That voice isn't important to me. They don't get a vote in how I feel. This is a big one. Opportunities to prove you can succeed are all around you, but success has a formula. A formula. Dennis knows that formula. I already know that by looking around here. I slept in Mark Bortz's home last night. I know he knows the formula. I know the formula. But many men miss the complete formula. They have two of the three parts of this formula. And it's a mathematical formula that is undeniable. Let's look at what that is. Success equals opportunity plus action. We all have opportunities every day. They come like buses. They stop for a minute, they pass, and they go away. There's a very small fraction of men who actually take action. They'll talk about that opportunity, but will they get up in the dark and show up at man school? Will they get up early and research what they need to determine whether they can actually go forward towards that opportunity? Will they say no to the boys who want them to go to the bar so that they can take a little bit more time to craft a plan that might get them closer to achieving success as it relates to that opportunity? Because I should have probably added another thing there, and that's sacrifice. Achieving success, it requires sacrifice. And I think we have a couple of generations today that worry me because they don't seem to want to sacrifice for much of anything. And I hate to sound like this old codger, but I was hearing somebody the other day on Dave Ramsey's radio show, and they were whining about how they couldn't afford to buy a house. Okay, valid. Rates are through the roof. You're living in mom and dad's house. Understood. You're not doing it because you're shiftless. You're doing it because it's an economic necessity. But Dave Ramsey lost his SH on this person because he reminded them that his grandfather lived in a shack that was like 100 square feet. That was his first house, and he had an outhouse, and he got by, and he figured it out, and he ground it out for a decade before he could save up the money for a down payment, blah, blah, blah. I think sacrifice is also an ingredient to achieving success in any way, and I think it's missing in the minds of a lot of people. Hold on, this is not working right. Most men don't take action because they don't recognize opportunity, actually. And I believe this is because God delivers most opportunities in a box with the word challenge on the front. Think about this, please, because you probably let some opportunities pass you by because you didn't recognize this or you weren't sensitive to it. Have your antenna up for this. In my life, every single, and okay, while this is catching up, think about your past and think about, just grab one or two things that you've achieved that you've been super proud of. And then think about how those were generated by what looked like a challenge or a problem first. I bet you'll come up with one. Some of the greatest things I've achieved had the most pain tied to them, and they look like a mess and they look like a challenge. That's because it's to you from God. Here's your challenge. But if you take the next step, some amazing things happen. Not that one. I thought I had a slide here that said, okay, there was a slide there that said open the box, and inside the box was the word opportunity. When facing challenges, it's simple for me. You only have two choices. My son really gets upset with me sometimes because I shut conversations down with this. Although he's a pretty strong dude, and I'm super proud of him. When people talk about challenges, my answer is it's simple. You have two choices. You can give up. Sorry, gentlemen. Yeah, open the box. You can give up, or you can open the box. And a lot of people just give up because it looks like what? It's a four-letter word, W-O-R-K. There is nothing in this world you can achieve without work. Nothing worth anything. It's easy to order from DoorDash, right? It's easy to order something from Amazon. It's easy to pay an electrician to come and put that outlet in. It's easy. All that stuff is easy. Sorry, guys, I'm jumping around here. Let me get back on track here. Okay. Forgive me. Here we go. Wow. Can you believe I actually sell technology? This is super important because no one else will do this for you. No one else will do this for you. As you work at achieving success, be very careful of your thoughts. It took me half of my life to learn this one. And for the first half of my life, my thoughts were pretty negative. And because my thoughts were negative, some negative things happened to me. But I learned how to figure this out back in the 90s. Obey the law of attraction. Anybody here doesn't know or has never heard the term law of attraction? It's not about girls. This is the law of attraction. What you think about most and most powerfully will become your reality. This is not new age wacky stuff. I believe it's founded in Christianity, actually. I believe it's founded in faith. You all have a friend. Raise your hand if you have a friend or a family member who you've said to yourself, they pretty much live under a cloud. They seem to attract bad things, problems, car problems, house problems, family problems, relationship problems, job problems, problems. I have someone like that, and I've given up trying to fix them. This is a self-designed world for them, as is yours. So thoughts are actually things, and words are even worse. Words are more powerful than thoughts, and that's because of a thing called an incantation. So you'll hear from motivational speakers, they'll tell you you need to do affirmations. Who gets up in the morning and does affirmations? I am going to be successful. I'm going to win that deal. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. That's an affirmation, an incantation pairs with it emotion and volume. Try it with me one time. I'm just going to say 2 words. I can.
I can.
Louder. I can.
I can.
So when you think I can, it's not as good as what you just did. So my wife thinks I'm insane sometimes because she'll walk in on me when I'm doing that. Words are powerful. Now, those were positive words, but imagine saying negative words with that level of passion. People do it every day. People do it every day. They yell it to their spouse. They're never going to give me a promotion. I can't figure out how to get past this. I'm never going to make that kind of money. We're not going to have enough money to go on vacation this year. This disease is going to kill me. With passion and anger, usually anger. So you got to be very careful with what you say and how you say it. Because any words you speak have a frequency. Now they say universe on this page. I switch it out with God personally. This is from a book called The Secret, which is nothing more than an amalgamation of all of this law of attraction knowledge that's been passed down for decades by various motivational speakers. But the gist of The Secret, and for my children, this was required viewing. I made them watch this documentary. One, because I'm a television producer by heart, and it was incredibly highly produced, and I appreciated it for its visual beauty. But 2, because it did a great job, as does the companion book, of assimilating this concept of thoughts or things. And quantum physics has research recently that scientifically is proving this concept. Think of your brain or your heart as a radio, an old radio, and you're turning the dial, and you're turned into a channel, and that channel happens to be negative. And it's a 2-way channel. It's like a walkie-talkie. You're yelling negative stuff in, that signal coming back gets stronger. It's more negative stuff coming your way. Because there's no choice. It has to align with whatever frequency you're sending out. And there is a frequency to different thoughts. So change. I had a buddy, I used to whine to this guy a lot about my problems in life. We used to take a walk through the woods, and halfway through, Don Didier would go, "Hey, change the channel." What he meant was, let's get off of that negative channel. Go tune in your favorite classic rock station, man. Let's jam out to some wonderful, positive thinking for a while. And the more you align your thinking and your talking in a certain positive way, I promise you, you will see that the Lord will bless you with more good stuff coming the other way. It's all good. I've lived through this a million times. It's technical difficulties. Mark has too. It's a challenge.
Just a bomb.
Oh, there's an opportunity in this challenge. Let me think about what I forgot to put in the slide deck while they're trying to get it back up. So what I didn't really put in the slide deck, I will digress for a minute because I know these folks are going to figure this out. You want this clicker, Mark? I want to hand this off. Thank you. So one thing I didn't successfully integrate into this slide deck is this concept that has been so important in my life, especially if you're a parent or you're a good friend to someone who's struggling with something. You have likely no understanding of the impact that 1 or 2 things that you say can have. It can change a life. I'll tell you a story. When I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to go to church. Not only were we not Christian, we weren't allowed to go to church. I lived in a poor neighborhood. The school bus would pull up, the church bus would pull up my street, Mifflin Street, every Sunday morning. My mother and father would draw the shades and lock the door and turn around and tell me, don't you answer that door. And I'd peek through my bedroom window and I'd see my friends running out gleefully getting in, and they're being welcomed on the bus. And you have to remember, we lived on food stamps. We were impoverished. There were 7 people in my home, and there was 1 blue-collar salary taking care of it all, and it wasn't much. But I desperately wanted to go because they told stories to me about how wonderful it was at church and how happy it was and how they ate and got ice cream and candy and things that were verboten on my diet, right? But every Sunday, my Uncle George, who owned the largest heating and cooling company in my town, would, on his way home from church, he would pull up at the front curb in his Cadillac, and he would get out and come and knock on the door with his beautiful suit on, and he would come in and have coffee with my parents. He loved my father dearly, and he was such a gentle, wonderful Christian man. They would shoo me out of the dining room area, and I would sit on a sofa in this little front room, acting like I was watching TV, but I wasn't watching TV. I was listening to Uncle George. Because my father would complain about how he couldn't do this or he couldn't do that. And Uncle George's response every time my father would say something negative was something positive. Well, Bobby, I'm not so sure about that. Let's look at it a little differently. Well, Bobby, if we dig into that a little bit, there might be an opportunity here. Well, Bobby, 20 years later, I called my Uncle George on the phone. This was in the 2000s. He was in his 80s. I called him on the phone. I hadn't talked to him in 25 years. And I told him that he changed my life. And he didn't know it. And he broke down bawling on the phone. And he said, this is the most wonderful phone call I've ever seen. I never knew if I was getting through to anybody. So be careful, because my wife has a story about how she overheard her mother talking to some friends about how she's not smart. Oh, she's not smart. And she believed it for a while. She had to claw her way out of that just by an offhand comment from a third party. So be careful what you say, because you can either destroy people's hopes and dreams with one sentence or one phrase, or you can lift them up immeasurably. And I'm going to talk a little bit in a minute and relate to you an actual story of how a gentleman in this room literally changed the trajectory of my life with one sentence. One question, actually. Like 5 words. He changed the trajectory of my life. For the better. And finally, if you find someone who believes in you, remember how we started? The best thing you can tell me is you can't, because they don't believe in me. I don't believe you can. I don't believe you can. But guess what? You will bump into someone at some point in your life. You may have already done this. You may be this for another man in this room one day. You may bump into somebody who believes in you even when you don't. At that moment, I'm asking you to give it up to them. When they believe in you, believe them. Okay? I'm going to show you an example of how this works. As Mark said, we met in 1984. I was trying out for a movie. Ronnie Finkelhoff, Superstar. How's that for a title? I was going to be the star, rock singer. I looked like Billy Idol at the time anyway. I thought I had visually the readiness to do this, but I had never recorded anything of me singing. I had been in a few musical plays at school and that kind of thing. I was joining the Air Force, but I was on a 1-year hiatus where I had nothing to do, basically. And I wanted to try out for this movie. So I went through the yellow pages and I found this place called Star City Studios, which at the time happened to be like one of maybe 2 recording places in the entire metro area. And I called them blind out of nowhere. Late one night, I didn't think anybody would be there. This is Mark. Hey, my name's Sean. I don't even know where to start, man. I told him the story, trying out for this movie. Can I come over there and record me singing some songs? Do you have like backing music for like some common, like some cover songs and I just knock them out, and I want to send it in. Mark changed my life. He changed the trajectory. You, Mark Bortz, changed the very trajectory of my entire life with one question, which was inverse to the way most people would have reacted at that moment. Why don't you write your own songs? I said, well, I never wrote a song before in my life. He goes, have you ever written a poem? I said, yeah. He goes, do you like to sing? I said, I love to sing. He goes, well, meet me here tomorrow. We'll figure it out. I said, look, man, I don't have any money. I don't even have a job now. I'm just waiting in line to go in the Air Force and protect you from the communists. He said, we'll worry about that. I'll see you tomorrow morning. This guy was a rock star at that time. He had long hair. He was a music dude. And I was godsmacked. This guy's like 20-something years old. This guy's going to give up a Saturday? He could be out doing a million other things. He showed up. What did he do? He did what he said he would. He showed up. I didn't believe he would. I walked in, we sat down, and over that weekend and maybe a couple of nights, we wrote and recorded 3 complete original songs, which put a spark in me, a passion for songwriting, a passion for singing, a passion for what you're about to see, which is just a sample of the band that I just left behind in Atlanta, Georgia, that I had for 15 years. We packed every venue in Metro Atlanta. We made lots of money. We were very much in demand. None of it would exist had he not challenged me with one question that no one else was asking me. I think I can. I'm going to link to that video. There it is. This is all the result of Mr. Mark Bortz stopping me and going, hey, wait a minute. How come you don't write your own songs? It's amazing what a person can do with a few words. I think I might, can you click that link on the desktop there? And is the audio up on that?
This is what your earlobes.
Yeah, it's up. You're going to have to sit through a commercial.
Here's a console.
Mark,
Watch. It just
what you're about to see
Now here's what?
is a tree that grew from a seed that you planted.
To clean your ears. Just what?
I wrote this solo, but I can't play it. Check this guy out. He's from Bulgaria. When people ask me, what do you miss about Atlanta? My only answer is my band. I had to leave all those boys behind. For 15 years, we never missed one practice. For 15 years, 5 people never argued. And Mark, it was the most collaborative, wonderful musical thing that, again, would have never happened. And you know what? It's a blessing to be able to face the person and say, would you come up here, please? Yes. Did you drift off? It's a blessing to be able to thank you.
Thank you.
I love you, man. Thank you so
Love
much.
You too, man.
All I got. I hope it was helpful. Thank you.